Well, Courtney, I'm so excited to chat with you today. We get to talk about one of my favorite topics, fascia, but going to talk about it in regards to the face, which
Mhm.
I'm excited about. I mean, and everyone listening should be as well, because we can start talking about like anti-aging and decreasing wrinkles. And right,
Mhm.
I mean, who doesn't love that conversation?
Well, I love that this is one of your favorite topics because I feel like I could talk skin all day long. And I feel so aligned with your approach to holistic health and well being. So, can't wait to get into the conversation with you today.
So, Courtney, let's start. I always love just having my guests share a little bit more about, share a little bit about you. What got you into the natural skincare in particular?
Mhm. Yeah. So I've forever, since I can remember, wanted to be in the beauty world. And then I feel like just through my training and experience and working with different spas and skincare brands, I feel like I started kind of waking up to the reality of ingredient lists. It wasn't honestly talked a whole lot about in school or even in the spa salon world. It was just a simple protocol, and you use whatever product line came to educate you on it or whatever product line the spa was using. And while I thought I was using more natural, in quotations, skincare products, I started diving into what the bottles actually were listing and couldn't recognize half of them. It would claim and tout these benefits of these natural ingredients on the front of the bottle, but on the back, they were towards the end of the ingredient list. So I feel like it was a very slow journey, but just started to become a little bit more inquisitive and curious. And thankfully, my sweet mother really raised us to be more health conscious. And I was the kid with the weird lunch at school that was like carrots and celery, and I always wanted the Lunchables. But I just feel like my mom kind of laid that foundation of being mindful of what you put inside of your body. And so it kind of at that point started registering to what am I putting on my body, and started seeking out really simple minimal ingredient lists. And that's actually when I came across Primally Pure, because I was feeling pretty burnt out on the spa industry and wanted to fully back the products and the ingredients I was applying to my facial guests, and knowing full well that I believe we've been given everything we need in nature, and they're incredibly effective and helping to heal the skin while also having such a positive impact on our overall wellness. So then I started diving into more of the research behind why it's so essential to use natural, non toxic ingredients and just the toxic burden so many of us carry with factors we can't control. So then I started getting really passionate about natural skincare because that is an area that we actually can have power over and what we purchase and what we apply. So I feel like it's a really simple, profound shift in our day to day that can have not only a transformative impact on our skin health and its appearance, but on our energy levels and our hormone balance and just our overall sense of feeling alive and vibrant. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. But it's been such a beautiful journey that I'm super grateful for and never looking back.
So, can you talk a little bit more about what is it that, from the natural ingredients, right? What are some
Mhm.
of those common things that you see, even in, because you talked about like the marketing, right? And on the front, because,
Mhm.
I know like you have to, even in quote, natural products, you still have to
Mhm.
be a little cautious out there because there's ones that, are maybe on the more cost effective, cheaper side, but are they really as natural as they say? I don't know.
Mhm.
Maybe this is a hard question for you to talk about because it may be one of those things we have to see in writing. But are there like some common ingredients that you see that can be touted as like essentially kind of okay for you, but they're really not? Those like sneaky things that
Yeah.
they like to put in products.
Yes. Well, I will say that's such a great question. And I feel like we can easily fall for those marketing ploys, and greenwashing has become such a thing as I feel like consumers have become more aware and wanting to be more educated and empowered in their purchasing. that some companies are really taking advantage of that and putting these natural claims, although you look at the ingredients and you're like, this doesn't really line up with what they're saying. But I feel like, and we talk about this a lot at Primally Pure, one of the top ingredients that we see, even on natural labels, which makes me so upset because it seems like because usually we talk about if you can pronounce it and recognize it, it's okay. So when you see the word fragrance, like, oh, I can completely understand that. It's not an acronym, it's not some long chemical name, when in reality, it actually is a blanket kind of umbrella term for hundreds and thousands of different chemical components that can be included to create that scent. So I feel like that's one of the most deceptive terms that can be found, especially on natural deodorant labels, on body products, shampoos, a lot of personal care products, and then your home products too, like cleaning products or laundry detergent. So I think that is the number one ingredient to be aware of, where it can claim no parabens, no sulfates. Like they focus on everything that's not included. So I like to encourage people, while it's claiming no this and no that, which is a really great start, we actually want to look at what's inside. And so fragrance is number one to avoid. It's actually been claimed as the new secondhand smoke. So it's an extremely toxic ingredient that can easily be replaced with pure essential oils and different aromas that you can still really love and enjoy, that have a positive impact on your mind, your body, and your sense of health. So I think that's one for sure. And then I feel like, honestly, if there's like an acronym like PEGs or I'm blanking on the others, but I feel like the PEG compounds are a big one to avoid. And phthalates are another one, which is spelled like P's and T's and H's. So it doesn't look like it would be pronounced as phthalates, but and that's often combined with fragrance, and it helps to deliver that deeper into the skin. And again, if it's an artificial synthetic fragrance, we don't actually want that absorbing into our skin. So those are just a few that I think are pretty easy to spot on an ingredient label. And then there's easy swaps to use instead.
No, I love this, and I love pointing out the fragrance, because I think that's something like we tend to be drawn towards. Like, oh, we want it to
Mhm.
smell good and all of that. But it really, really is a hormone disruptor. So we
Yeah.
don't sometimes correlate all the time, like, oh gosh, and we think, oh, well, we're not using a lot of it or things like that. But once you switch, to natural, it's really, I love it in the sense that then you become a little bit more aware of other things around you, and you're like,
Yeah, you
oh wow,
do.
you can actually smell, and like your nose will pinpoint like, oh wow, that is definitely a chemical toxin, because they are
Mhm.
just so much stronger and pungent. And anyone listening who's ever had a little bit of like chemical sensitivity, or you react to things really easily, like, it's like we're the, canary in the coal mine. You can
Mhm.
you can test those things out. So it is really
Yeah,
important, like,
definitely.
to get that stuff out, just because it just causes, we talk a lot about hormones and stuff here too, because
Yeah.
as women, we deal with so many hormone stuff, and
Mm,
skincare really matters. So anyway,
it
thank you for
does.
sharing all that.
Yeah, thanks for asking.
So I want to
It's
get
a
to
great
talking
story.
about fascia, fascia of our
Mhm,
face. Like, I
mhm,
talk a lot about fascia. I love it. But I don't, talk a lot about the face. And I know there's a lot that we can do, from an
mhm,
anti-aging perspective, especially talking like
mhm,
natural products, but not even just that. There's so many things that we can do when we understand our fascia, fascial system,
mhm,
fascia of our face, and what we can do to help
mhm,
in, some natural anti-aging things that don't require us to put toxins on our skin and in our body and
mhm,
all of that. So I know you
mhm.
love to use
Amen.
the okay, now I'm like blanking. Will you say the tool for me now? What's it called?
The Gua Sha Stone.
The Gua Sha
Gua
Stone.
Sha.
Yes,
Mhm.
thank you. So I want to talk about that. Will you share with everybody what the Gua Sha Stone is,
Mhm.
and how that can be really powerful for the
Yeah.
fascia in our face?
Yes, I love this tool. It's so transformative and it's so ancient. It's such a beautiful blend of it has such rich history and it's been around for centuries and generations. So it originated in traditional Chinese medicine. And it used to be you could use spoons or coins or horns. And now, obviously, we have the really beautiful precious stones. And you usually see the stones in green jade or rose quartz or Bian. And those obviously have really beneficial properties to our skin health as well. But essentially, gua sha is gua means scraping and sha means redness. So essentially, we're using this like scraping, sweeping motion with the stone. And usually on the body, you see a lot more redness because it's a lot more vigorous and more intense of emotion, where on the face, it's extremely light and gentle. So you don't often see that redness appear, but it helps to release stagnant toxins, impurities, and waste in the skin tissue and in the body. And I love how simple strokes and simple sequence can help to impact positively so many functions of the skin and body. So, what you mentioned, the fascia, with those adhesions or that tight, wound up fascia, that can then lead to sagging skin and deeper depressions and wrinkles in the skin. The gua sha stone actually goes in to help break up those blockages and smooth out that fascia. And then it actually helps to release and relax that muscle right beneath it. It also helps to create more flow of hydration throughout the fascia, throughout the skin, which is essential for a more youthful, vibrant appearance. Hydration is everything. And then it also really activates lymphatic drainage, which is huge also for keeping the skin clear and even and vibrant and youthful. And it helps to depuff, stimulate that drainage and detoxification. And then once we're able to release some of that stagnant fluid, we can go in and bring this fresh burst of blood flow, oxygen, nutrients to really feed the skin at a cellular level. And then we're able to lift and firm and contour. So there's so many things happening all at once that we don't even see that's going on below the surface. And that's why I love gua sha so much, because we don't have to go in with needles or chemicals. And of course, with a holistic approach, benefits build over time. So while you will see a shift after one session, it's really day after day incorporating this practice, you're going to see softer lines, a more lifted appearance, pigmentation will be minimized. If you struggle with breakouts or acne, it helps to bring a fresh flow of healing and calm inflammation in the skin. So I love it because regardless of what your skin goals are, there's a technique with this tool to help remedy that and bring healing to that area.
Well, I'm in. You sold me. I'm like, yes, we need to add. I want to add this to my list of tools and things to learn. So, is
Yes.
this something that women should do like on a weekly basis? Like, how often, and what do you recommend for that?
I suggest whatever you are able to commit to. If you feel like you have space in your daily routine, by all means, do it every single day. If you only have space 3 to 5 times a week, once a week, I feel like the more the better, because that
Okay.
facial massage and that movement, it's kind of like exercise. One of the phrases that gua sha is connected with is it's known as yoga for the face. So it's essentially a workout for your facial muscles. And again, because the benefits build, the more you incorporate this stone into your routine, the more you'll be able to see that transformation that you're looking for. But I also, again, it's meant to serve you and your schedule and with kiddos and family routines and career and all that kind of stuff, it can be tough to squeeze in. But I think too, once we prioritize time for incorporating gua sha and we feel the impact it has and we see the difference, it almost encourages us and motivates us to do it more often. So I say if you can just commit to maybe once a week, you'll start to experience it. And then definitely you'll want to squeeze it in even more than that.
So how long do you typically, I'm sure it can vary a little bit, but what's like kind
Yeah.
of a minimum? Like, does it take about 5 minutes or something like that to do or longer?
It can take, if you're doing the full neck and full face, it can take around 15 minutes. And then depending on how many strokes per, or how many sweeps per stroke you're doing, usually I suggest 3 to 5. But if you have extra time or you're really wanting to focus on a skin goal, or you're really needing some stress relief, because that's another benefit that I didn't speak to yet, but it deeply soothes a busy mind and it engages our parasympathetic. So I actually love doing this before bed because I feel like it really puts me in that place of rest and promotes deeper sleep. So you can do it in the morning, you can do it in the evening. And I also recommend, if you don't have a full 15-minute block of time, just focusing on the neck, which is about 2 to 5 minutes, is already going to start waking up your lymphatic drainage and getting circulation flowing. And our neck is connected everything, and I love that you talk about this so often, but everything is connected. So even working on the back of the spine up to the back of the occipital bone is going to start to release that fascia and help to soften lines in the forehead. And so even though you're not technically working the full face, if you don't have that full time, just working on the neck is going to begin to create such a difference in your face as well.
Okay, I'm glad you said that because I was going to ask you because I know,
Mhm.
when I mean, just having any massage or anything done around your face, your scalp, all of that. And so I'm assuming you could also, does some of it include like doing some scalp work as well? Because all of that causes
Mhm.
a whole
Yeah.
release. Now, do you like
Yeah.
stress, right? So we talk about stress all the time because stress is
Yeah.
at the root of everything. And so I always think
Mhm.
anything that we can do that helps, and sometimes just having the physical practice is a really good
Mhm.
place to start for people instead of just being
Mhm.
like, oh, go into do a meditative practice and like de-stress. And sometimes we put too much stress on
Yeah.
ourselves to de-stress, and it's like let's just find something that works for you. And hey, this is an added bonus of
Mhm.
a little, working with anti-aging is really not the right term, right? Someone told me one time, what did I hear this
Yeah.
at? Like basically anti-aging is like is really we use that as a wrong term. Do you have
Mhm.
you guys say something else that's more of like a correct term for aging? Because I don't know, that always sounds kind of like wrong.
Yeah, I agree. I don't love that word at all. And I actually just wrote, well, I wrote it a few years ago, but we just posted it on Primarily Pure's blog and I titled it The Lines of Life. And it's a more kind of poetic, reflective piece. And it really is like embracing getting older because it's such a gift. And the lines on our life often reveal emotions that we felt and those repeated expressions that we make, or those moments and memories that have been ingrained into our mind, which whether it's like worry we were never intended to carry, or joys and celebrations of being with people we love. So wanting to encourage people to view their lines differently, and the signs of aging that can happen. It's like it's the story of your life written all over your face. And obviously we want to help promote and optimize skin health and the functions, because that all does slow down as we do age. So I think at Primarily Pure, we just say to promote a youthful appearance, because I feel like youthfulness and health go hand, I mean, they're like known, when you're youthful, you have that plump, glowy, soft looking skin. And so essentially we want to keep the functions of the skin activated and awake and alive. And that's why I love gua sha too, because that's what it's doing. It's keeping things flowing and fluid and moving and mobile and elastic. And it's helping to optimize that collagen production that slows down as we age, and the hyaluronic acid production that slows down as we age. And I feel like yeah, it's just such a powerful tool to work with the skin. And as we talk about too with movement and our bodies, a stagnant lifestyle leads to so many health conditions. And I think of that with the face too. So a stagnant flow within the skin can lead to more of those signs of aging. So we just want to keep it fluid and flowing. And gua sha is a fantastic way to help do that.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. And I think just also the benefits of, I know we hold so much tension in our jaw and in our
Gosh, yeah.
forehead and all that. So I think even just from like, again, back to this whole like the stress release and getting
Mhm.
ourselves into more of a flow state, that we don't realize until we start bringing awareness to it, how much we hold in our face. And so like everything you're saying makes me think, because I love talking about dry brushing. I always get a lot of conversation going
Yeah.
about dry brushing with the body. And
Right.
I highly, highly recommend it. So like this to me is sounding like we're doing a similar thing. I know you have dry brushes for the face.
I was gonna say, have you tried facial dry brushing?
I have.
Mhm.
I not it's not something I've done regularly, I'll be honest. I dry brush my
Mhm.
body more, on a regular
Great.
basis.
So good.
So I'm assuming you probably like this the gua sha stone better than the dry brushing, but do you have like is there a
Mm.
reason to dry brush over gua sha or alternate them? Do a combination of
Yeah.
both? What do you think?
Combination of both. I truly
Okay.
can't choose because they both, while they're similar impact on the skin, they work in different ways. So I actually love facial dry brushing in the morning because I'm not so much of a huge morning person, and it's an extremely quick, like it's 2 minutes to use your facial dry brush. Where, as I mentioned before, the gua sha can take anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes, and I like to incorporate that at night. But also, you can alternate and do gua sha in the morning. You could do both at once, but I love the facial dry brushing because similar to dry brushing on the body, of course, you're getting that lymphatic fluid flowing and helping to stimulate circulation at the same time. But you're also getting a really gentle, effective topical exfoliation too. So you're helping to slough off any buildup on the surface. I feel like it's such an effective way to start to clear out any blackheads or congestion in the skin. So it's my favorite way to exfoliate. And I feel like exfoliation is another like kind of touchy topic in skincare, and just chronic exfoliation with especially aggressive ingredients can lead to a weakened immune skin barrier function, and over time can just negatively impact the skin health. So in my opinion, I feel like facial dry brushing, I do it actually every morning, and I feel like kind of like flossing. I don't feel like my teeth are clean unless I floss. Like I feel like my face isn't like awake and aware unless I do my facial dry brushing. But then obviously with the gua sha stone, you can get way more specific with the technique and all the ridges and divots with the stone. You can definitely target more specific conditions a lot more effectively.
I love that you explained the difference. That was very, very helpful. So with you mentioning about, dry brushing as doing it to exfoliate. So is that
Yeah.
what you recommend across the board when we talk skin exfoliation, just doing dry brushing?
I feel like you can also partner it with some more like really gentle enzymatic masks. I'm not a huge fan of the more mechanical, like scrub exfoliators. But with, especially in our masks that we have, it has a base of honey, which I love. Like even if you just have raw honey in your cabinet and do a light layer as a weekly mask, I love to blend that more enzymatic because it kind of like digests and eats away at any buildup. And then the facial dry brush sloughs it away. So you're still getting that kind of like mechanical and chemical exfoliation on a weekly basis. So that's usually what I suggest. Just keeping it very simple.
So just honey, like just local honey, or or is
Mhm.
it like the Maduka or Manuka? How do you say that? Like that
Yeah,
honey? Do you
either
need that one, or it
Manuka.
doesn't really matter? Right?
Yeah, I feel like the raw local, like if you have a farmer's market or a local farmer or beekeeper you can get it from, because obviously that's going to have more of the potent enzymes that will benefit your skin. But obviously the Manuka honey is incredibly healing as well. So you can't go wrong. And then if you wanted to blend it with like some bentonite clay or spirulina, if you have different herbs or clays that you want to play with and mix your own little DIY, that's always fun too.
Cool. So how long do you typically leave that on if you're going to do a honey mask once a week?
Mhm. Well, that's a beautiful thing about a honey-based mask is that it doesn't harden like if you were to just take clay and water. And I feel like or like yeah, more of like a water-based, and once that mask hardens, which I feel like we growing up at least, like, we get used to that hard, tight, and we think like, "Perfect, this is the like, this is what it's supposed to be doing," when actually as soon as it dries out, it stops being effective and it actually starts to dehydrate, and
I see
so
that.
the honey stays moist and active, and honestly, when I'm working from home, I'll leave it on for like an hour.
Oh, wow. Okay. So
Yeah.
that you like really can't leave it on too long is what you're
You
saying.
can't leave it on too long. Most people will leave it on like 15 to 30 minutes, but yeah, you don't have to worry about it hardening or drying out your skin while you're wearing
I love that tip. Okay, so many new things I have to try.
it. Yay, I
I
love
love
it.
it. Okay, so I know you talk about Botox in the
Mhm.
sense that you don't like it. And I know this can always be a little bit of, a controversial conversation because we have,
Mhm.
women out there die hard using their Botox. And I also know women who, have used Botox for migraines and different things like
Totally.
that. So I have like two questions. One,
Mhm.
doing the gua sha stone because you're
Mhm.
doing it around your neck, your head, your whole head
Mhm.
basically, and your
Mhm.
neck, right?
Okay.
Like
Mhm.
I find, not for everybody, but a lot of people get stress migraines, and it's in part because
Yeah.
they're really tight in their jaw, their neck, around their occipitals, because that's
Mhm.
typically when they're putting Botox in for that. Like they're putting it
Mhm.
around their occipitals and stuff like that, and
Mhm.
around their jaw
Mhm.
to like loosen all that up.
Mhm. Mhm.
So do you see, and I don't know, this may be like outside of your scope, but do you see and have women say, oh my gosh, my headaches and
Mhm.
migraines went away at, learning how to do the gua sha and doing it on a
Mhm.
semi-regular basis?
Mhm. I love that connection that you made. Botox is definitely used for lots of different ways other than just cosmetic. And I will say, which this kind of inspires me to go read the reviews on the Gua Sha Stone page that we have. And I'm curious if people have shared that there. And I haven't heard firsthand from somebody incorporating it regularly. But I have had facial guests where they'll come in with a headache and we'll do a full gua sha session and they'll leave and it will be completely gone. And so to me, that speaks of the power of it in that way.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure when it's incorporated regularly that there's definitely a release of that pain and tightness and especially the neck and the jaw. Not only can you do like the lighter sweeping motions across, but you can actually use the stone to do deeper muscle release work when needed. And so I feel like there's lots of different techniques to really target if there is that tightness and tension. It's a dream for TMJ. I actually have really tight jaw. I have to sleep with a mouth guard and everything. And I feel like my gua sha ritual with the more intentional pressure in those specific places brings such a release. I feel such a difference when I use it.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I tend to go to like, okay, what are health things that I hear clients and my students talk about?
Yeah.
And I just know we hold so much tension in our neck and jaw, and it just can
Mhm.
relate. So I'm like, oh, I
Mhm.
bet, because it doesn't surprise me at all. Like I comment, my comments to
Mhm.
be like, doing that really, I could see a correlation of helping with women,
Yeah.
preventing and getting rid of migraines. And I know there's other outliers, that sometimes hormones can contribute, like all that kind of stuff. But
Right.
many times, even if there's an underlying other cause of migraines and things, many
Mhm.
times there's
Mhm.
also a stress response in the body because what happens when we have
Yeah.
pain is the fascia likes to tighten. And so even if it's
Mhm.
caused essentially by something in the gut, hormones, right, things like that, and that causes a stress response in the tissue even though we're not really thinking about that, and so a lot of
Yeah.
stress doesn't have to be like, oh, I think I'm really stressed, right? That I would correlate and thinking, oh, doing some gua sha on our face and our neck and our scalp could be so powerful for at least
Mhm.
knocking them down.
Mhm.
I don't know, I think that's
I
exciting
love
stuff for me.
that. Yes.
I like
And one
that.
thing that I love that you speak to a lot is even like the emotional release that can happen through movement and massage. So even like pain on an emotional level. Like if we want to go there, like I just feel like there's so much healing that can happen on every level in the body and mind and emotion when we incorporate this touch and the rhythmic repetitive massage motions and bringing release to the muscle and the fascia and getting things flowing. I feel like especially in the facial, and I feel like in the facials that I do this session, they the emotional response is so powerful, and that just reminds me, like, this is why I do what I do. Like, there's a visible response that we see, but within, the shift that happens is is everything, and I feel like that's the most impactful.
Well, and this is a twofold, right? So you're getting the physical response of your skin. I'm glad you said this, but
Mhm.
our face can shift, our skin can shift when we have an emotional release response in a positive way inside of our
Mhm.
body. I mean, I see it all the time with just in the
Yeah.
movement within the body. So I can only imagine in the face, it's just as powerful. So anyway, this is so exciting. I love
Mhm.
this.
Mhm. Me too.
Okay, so Courtney, we have to come back to our Botox conversation because I
Yes, right.
really, really want to talk to you about this because I know you talk about how the gua sha is really the natural Botox, right?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
so I'll let you take it, but like if you want to talk about some of the negatives of Botox,
Mhm.
I'd love to hear that.
Yes. So actually, our founder Bethany just did a reel on social media all about Botox, and we've done a few blog posts about it just to educate. And I think back to what we were talking about at the beginning of just like being aware and being educated in what we're purchasing and what we're applying. So, really, that's our heart, and just like sharing information and then allowing people to make the decision that resonates best with them. And so, essentially, Botox it's a known neurotoxin. And for me, immediately, that's like red flags. And with Botox, it's a repeated procedure. So after 3 to 4 months, the effects wear off. So it's something that you're consistently, regularly injecting into your body, essentially. So that right there is a red flag. And especially just with repeated exposure, just not sure the risks that will be experienced down the long run. And I mean, also, I know that there is so many people that have experienced negative side effects from the first injection that they had. So it's just kind of weighing that risk of knowing what you're putting in your body and how often you are going to be putting it in your body. And then on top of that, the way that Botox actually works is by paralyzing the facial muscle and numbing and blocking communication essentially to the nerves and the muscles. And that way we're not able to make those repeated expressions, which on so many levels that I'm like, oh, but that's how we communicate. And that's how we like, I feel like fully experience emotion. And so there's that side. And then ultimately, like what we were just talking about previously, movement is where we're nourished and fed and waste is removed. When things are stagnant and essentially lifeless, um, over time, that can lead to conditions in the skin and body. And so that's the thing with the repeated Botox procedures is that over time, the muscles actually atrophy and they waste away because they're not moving. They're not getting that source and that flow from within. And so while it creates this temporary effect of completely erasing any lines on your skin, in the long run, it actually can lead to more extensive aging that we're not aware of today.
That's so interesting. I've never heard of it. I also
Mhm.
haven't, I'll be honest, I haven't done a lot of research on Botox either.
Mhm.
And I haven't personally done it. I've had friends that are like, you should do
Mhm.
this. And I'm just like, it doesn't really fall in my bucket of
Mhm.
natural health. So I've just
Yeah.
always said no. And I was like, I'll just grace the lines that are happening and it's, it's okay.
Yeah.
But I'm
Or you
really
just grab your gua sha stone now.
I know. Yes, it's gonna start being a new part of my routine. But I think so many times we, and I think societally, right? Although I feel like women listening are open, right? They're here listening
Mhm.
to natural health stuff. And so it is about,
Mhm.
we're here to have longevity and
Yeah,
quality of life. And, so sometimes it means we put in a little bit more work now, but we really can reap the reward in the long term. So
absolutely.
exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
So Courtney, is there anything else we haven't yet talked about I mean, I know there's a lot of stuff we could talk about, but
Mhm.
that you absolutely like always love to share with with clients or with everyone that everyone must
Mm.
know about, skincare, or even if there's something else within the fascia of our face that you want to share, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah. Well, in this gua sha conversation, I feel like while we kind of talk about it like it's this miracle tool, which, side note, Botox is known as a miracle poison, which again, another red flag. But gua sha is actually a miracle tool, yes, but it really does its best work when it is paired with a really healthy, mindful lifestyle, which is everything that you guys talk about in your community and on your podcast. And so, just reiterating that, like, it's really building on the foundations of quality sleep and optimal hydration and the stress, not putting stress on our stress relieving practices, but just incorporating what we can, how we can. And yeah, just that whole food, nutrient dense diet. So just plugging that little reminder, of course. And I feel like also on that same vein of just like keeping things really simple and basic and foundational, your skincare routine doesn't have to be so complex. Like, I think that's something too, people can get overwhelmed and like, well, I can't do a 7-step skincare routine. I don't have time. And so I feel like even just like 3 simple steps to commit to is a cleanser, a toner, and a moisturizer. And then you finish with your gua sha practice after that, and to seal it all in, and then to get that massage and that flow going. So just simplifying our approach to a healthy self, a healthy skin. And I feel like just with that consistency and that commitment is where we'll really experience a true shift.
I love that you mentioned all of those pieces. They're so important.
Mhm.
And that our skincare routine can be simple, because I do think
Yes.
that, especially you work for a skincare company. And so it's great to
Mhm.
hear. It's like, we are really here for the right reasons, teaching you about holistic,
Mm.
skincare. So I love it. I'm so grateful for the
Mhm.
work that you guys are doing. And I know everyone's
Oh,
going to
me
ask,
too.
thank you. So Courtney, I know everyone's
Mhm.
going to ask, okay, so you guys talked about this Gua Sha Stone. So where do I learn how to do this? And I'm assuming you
Yeah,
guys offer them as well. We can get them
we do.
from you
Yes.
guys. So do you have some links that we can share in the show notes, and
Yeah,
which I will put all
absolutely.
in the show notes and
Yes.
everything.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm
And then we have
excited.
some oh, good, and we have tutorials on our IGTV, on our YouTube channel, so when you grab a stone, that way you're not, like, left in the dark, like, "How do I do this?" So some really simple steps to follow along on, yeah, YouTube or Instagram.
So then other question I just thought of
Mhm.
is, for those of us that like to go get facials from time to time, like, what do you
Mhm.
recommend in finding someone who
Mhm.
does more of the natural skincare and also does the gua sha? Like, do you guys have a list of
Yeah.
them, or do you guys have a resource or anything? I don't know. I don't know if that exists.
We don't have a resource. I honestly just say Google. Just plug in natural gua sha facials near me or something like that. But I will say, when I first started in this industry like 12 years ago, there was not a whole lot of these treatments available. And now it's been so beautiful to see this new wave of holistic estheticians that are incorporating these practices and more holistic massage modalities, and kind of moving away from more of those aggressive, intensive treatments. So I'm, even if you have to drive like 45 minutes, highly recommend. I feel like the experience on a skin level, emotional level, fascia level, like on every level, nervous system, it's just really sweet to take that space and to be cared for and to be touched in a really intentional, mindful way. And then I think too, at least for me, even when I give a facial or when I receive a facial, it has this little ripple effect. Like you just leave a little lighter and you want to make more health conscious decisions and you want to get back on your skincare routine. And so I feel like it just has this really sweet positive ripple effect when you experience more of a natural holistic facial.
Yeah, I love that. And I could see, especially in the beginning of wanting to learn to do it to yourself, like I would be like, oh, I'd love
Mhm.
to go have someone else do it on me. So
Yeah.
you feel what it feels like. Cause I know people get kind of hesitant and scared of like, oh my gosh, am I going too hard? Am I doing,
Mhm.
like things like that. So I don't know. It's just something I thought of. So Courtney, will
Yeah.
you also share with everyone where they can find you if they have other
Mhm.
questions and things or
Yes.
product questions, stuff like that?
Yeah. Please follow along. We're on Instagram at Primally Pure, and we do tutorials and we just love educating our community over there. And we talk more about all of our natural skincare products that we offer. And um, we also have a blog that I highly recommend checking out if you want to dive more into greenwashing, ingredients to avoid, more about gua sha and why it's truly a tool that you want to start incorporating. That is purelifeblog.com. So I feel like those are two of our really great resources.
Well, thank you so much, Courtney. This is so awesome. I love learning all this
Oh,
from you.
Erica, thanks. This is such a privilege to get to connect with you because I love your approach, your perspective. I love the community you're creating, and thank you for inviting me to be part of it.
Well, thank you, Courtney.